Welcome to the Mama Needs a Moment podcast. We're your hosts, Chrissy and Cindy, co-founders of Her Health Collective, and moms who totally get the chaos of juggling it all.
But here's the thing, your well-being matters. That's why we're on a mission to change the way moms take care of themselves.
We bring you quick 10 to 15 minute bite-sized episodes packed with expert advice on women's health, parenting, and self-care, plus real-life tips you can use right now.
So take a deep breath, grab your lukewarm cup of coffee, and let's make these moments count.
We would like to give a warm welcome to some of our Her Expert providers joining us for today's conversation. You can learn more about each of the experts featured in this episode, as well as many other vetted professionals through our free provider directory available on our website. You'll find the link in the show notes today. Today's episode is part of our Expert Roundtable series, where we bring together professionals from a variety of fields to discuss the topics that matter most to moms. We host 4 of these roundtables each year, and this is the second in our 2025 series. These conversations are a cornerstone of our work within Her Health Collective, offering diverse perspectives and encouraging collaboration across disciplines. Our goal is to support moms through more connected, well-rounded care, and to give our experts a chance to learn from one another in the process. In today's roundtable, we are discussing a topic I know many of our moms are very passionate about: navigating the digital age and raising resilient kids. We will be digging into everything from screen time and body image to digital boundaries and mental health. Before we begin, we're going to let each of our experts introduce themselves and share their area of focus. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to go in order that I see everybody. Marianne.
Thank you. I am Marianne Brenneman. I am the owner of Mindful Health and Harmony based in Northwest Raleigh. I have a graduate certificate from NC State in family life education and coaching. I'm a teen wisdom certified coach and a family life coaching association certified expert. I work with tweens, teens, young adults, and parents, especially during key transition stages like elementary to middle, middle to high school to college. I'm a strengths-based coach, and I'm big on teaching life skills and competence, which helps with their confidence and communication skills. So that's what I love to do.
Thank you so much, Marianne. We're excited to have you here. Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Gordon. I am an eating disorder recovery coach with a master's in social work, concentration, and mental health. As an eating disorder coach, I work with people who have a diagnosis of an eating disorder. Often they're stepping down from inpatient residential, but I also work with people who don't always have a diagnosis. They often have a poor relationship with food, body image, things of that nature. We do weekly one-on-one sessions, very goal-oriented. And we focus on here and now, and they are welcome to text me anytime in between sessions for support.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. We're excited to have your perspective today. And next we have Anastasia.
I am Anastasia, and I am a family coach as well as a licensed counselor and a former educator and a mom. I have over 20 years experience in education and counseling. I've worked with hundreds of families, and my biggest thing is helping to bring calm and connection into homes. I blend the mental health and then the coaching together and hope that that helps bring that calm into the families. I specialize with helping women shift and learning how to get rid of that chaos.
Thank you. It's so good to have your voice with us today, Anastasia. Next up, we have Erin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Jones. I am a licensed counselor. I specialize in obsessive compulsive disorder and related diagnoses like anxiety. I work a lot with kids, teens, and adults, and have lived experience myself. I'm also a mom, and I really enjoy educating and advocating for the OCD community and helping whether kids, teens, or adults, help them in giving OCD less power in their lives. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Erin. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. And last but certainly not least, Irene.
I'm Irene Googe with Loving Lessons Sleep Solutions, where I'm trained as a sleep coach and postpartum doula. And I help anxious parents that are overwhelmed in the newborn to preschool season go from exhausted and uncertain to rested and confident when we pinpoint the root cause of what's really happening with those sleep struggles. And we create a personalized sleep plan that is building trust and respect through flexible routines. And I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you, Irene. I always love hearing what you have to say.
It's no surprise that with the release of books such as The Anxious Generation or various different research results, that the data is heading in a negative direction when it comes to the use of screens with our kids. So in an effort to shift the negative direction that the data is heading, one suggestion is to help families cultivate intentional and mindful relationships with technology through modeling and connection, which is something that Marianne and Irene had touched on very briefly in our first question. Anastasia, I'm going to turn to you right now. You emphasize with your clients connection over control. What does that look like in real life?
Yeah, for sure. I think, and listening to what everybody's saying, I agree. And some of the same words are coming up for me, like the curiosity part and the why and all that. And I'm going to get into that. I think that we're in a different age than the way we were raised, the way we grew up. We grew up in it was very controlling, but your parents controlled you. You did what you were supposed to do. You didn't have a lot of options. You did what you were told, right? And you didn't say anything. And like, we can't raise our kids like that anymore. It's just, they're different. I don't know why they're different, but they're different. And so we really have to learn as parents to have that mutual respect with them, the child and you. It's no more of like you're in charge, like more of that authoritative parenting we all need to be doing than the authoritarian. And so moving away from that control is so important. And it's hard for us because we were raised that way. And so our brains immediately go to like, you need to listen to me. You can't be on the phone. Da, 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 da. And that's never, ever going to work. I'm telling you right now, because kids will be sneaky. They figure out all the tricks. They figure out how to sneak it into their room or how to get through the passwords. My son, he's famous for doing stuff like that. And so we have, instead of me, and I will get angry at times, but instead of getting super angry, we have a lot of conversations to the point he got a computer for his birthday. And we have it in the kitchen. It's in the kitchen. And so we're literally, all of us are always in there. It's our big room that everyone's in. And so he'll be playing his game, but we're right there, me, his dad, his brother. And so we're constantly hearing the conversations he's having. And so we're able to really then know what he's talking about, know what he's watching. And that's one connection right there, because we're very aware of what's happening and who he's playing with and what he's doing. So I think one of the big things is knowing what your kids are doing. And the way you know that is to have the devices or the computers in places that you know where they are. And as kids get older, it's harder. I'm very aware of that too. Like when they're little, it's so much easier, but as they get into preteen and teen, so much harder. So really it's starting to have these conversations when they're little. And so I think modeling what's important, right? And then having limits that you know for sure that you want for your child, right? You already know that they can have an hour screen time limit and they understand that too. And it's not like you're telling them what it is necessarily, but you're explaining the why behind it. A lot of the times kids want to know the why. They want to know why something is happening. And so my child's 12 and he knows more about the brain than I ever did, because like I'm obsessed with explaining to him, this is why you can't, this is not good for you. Your brain is not developed. And if you continue to do this, it's just very harmful. And so having those conversations that seem like they might not understand, but they understand because they see it on YouTube anyway, in different ways. They see so much stuff on these YouTube scrolling and really educational stuff, but it's just too much. So them learning to understand how to have the limits and why we're having limits. The other thing is creating those things together. So you're not telling them necessarily what it's going to be like. You're making those limits at the same time. So you're really communicating, connecting on that. And then that curiosity piece, like Erin was talking about, instead of criticizing, like, why are you always on your phone? Why do you constantly want to play Fortnite? It's really about like, tell me about why every time you get home from school, you have to play Fortnite. And they'll have an answer. It's like, I just want to play with my friends. I want to talk to them. Right. And so as a parent, I get that. Okay, you can play with them for a little bit, but we're going to do 30 minutes and then we're going to do something else. So it's not hard no, but it's also me putting my limit as a parent and sharing what is going to be the healthiest. And it's also just being honest with yourself too, right? Because as a parent and as a person that does a lot of my business on my phone, I'm on my phone a lot, right? Because I'm constantly posting or doing stuff. So I've had to really set limits for myself of like, all right, I got to put this down at dinner, or from the time he gets home till it's time to go to bed, I'm really going to limit what I'm doing because it's more important for me to like be with the family. But that's been really hard for me. And so I'll call myself, I'm all on it. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I should have never been doing that. Or he'll call me on it and I don't get mad. I'll be like, you're totally right. Like I need to put it away. So I think it's being honest with ourselves as a parent of how it is hard to put the phone down. It's hard to not be distracted by it, and sharing that with your kids and being open with them. It's just really thinking of yourself when as you're a parent now, it's very different than the way our parents raised us. And it's that mutual respect that we have to give them in order for them to give that to us. And I think that's a bit with technology, with anything, because kids are smarter now. Things are quicker. Everything is fast, 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 fast. And so to connect with them, we have to be just aware of that. And they want to, and as they get older too, they will connect with you, but they have to want to, and they have to have that respect for you that you started building when they were little.
You've made some really good points. And something that stuck out to me was you had said this in a way, and Marianne had mentioned it as well, where you talk about cutoffs, having a cutoff time for your child or your teen with the device. But the question I have regarding the cutoff is you implement the cutoff, but then they seem to have an excuse like, can I read my book, which is on their iPad? And then all of a sudden they're looking up the definition on Google, and then they're pulled in, just like all of us, like the adults are, the same thing happens. But how do we navigate that as parents? You know, I have it all the time with my child. I want to listen to music. And then before I know it, it's really hard. Do you have any suggestions?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is knowing what they're doing, right? Like it's hard. It's almost impossible to get them off of it. But if they're telling you, I'm going to listen to music, you know they're listening to music, right? So at least that they're being open with you and knowing what they're doing. So I think it's almost impossible to get them off of it all the time. But the fact that your child's communicating with you on it, that's like amazing that they're talking with you because he's not being sneaky. He's telling you what he's going to do. And then I think too, just being open, well, we're going to have to put it down at some point because it's just really not healthy for you. Or I know you want to look that up, but we're not doing that anymore. We're done. So being prepared and like predicting like all the things that the excuses that they're going to have, and know that you're going to have to put some boundary with that before you even start. So if you have in high school, it's so much harder too, because these kids are so smart, like I'm saying, that they're able to navigate exactly what you're saying, Cindy, around all of your limits and boundaries. So I think the biggest thing is just having that open communication. As I work with a lot of moms, once they're in high school, it's pretty much, we're kind of like just having to make sure they're doing things that are safe online, if that makes sense.
Well, the funniest thing we're getting now is my kids who are 11 and 15, they say, just to get a little bit more time, can I just finish this scene? And we're like, sure, but how long is the scene? So
yeah, no, I do that too. Or I'll put on the microwave. I'll be like, you have literally 3 minutes. And if you're not done in the 3 minutes, I'm going to have to take it because you've already been on it for this amount of time. Because I get the same, I have a 12-year-old and I get the same thing. We're always trying to finish a game, and I'll let him usually finish the game. Like say we have like an hour limit. He'll say, oh, I still am on the game. I'm like, well, finish this game and then we're done. But that can also keep going. So I think my biggest thing with all of this, once they get to be about 12 and older, is just making sure they're doing safe things and that they're talking to you about all the different things that they're doing and trying to get buy-in of why it should be turned off or why we need to move on to do something else.
That's great feedback. Thank you. Erin, I'd like to pull you in on this discussion. What advice do you have for parents helping their teens recognize the difference between functional and compulsive digital behaviors?
Yeah, that's a great question because, as it was just brought up so well, I think as kids get older and they're becoming teens, probably using more digital media, I think we're helping grow their literacy and their competency with it, right? Where I think we either can't or maybe shouldn't have as much control anymore as they're going to learn to be people out in the world, and helping them learn what these things are is going to help them have more of that literacy and competency. I think, on your own, explaining the difference between a behavior that's functional and compulsive is, something that that is more about the why behind it, why the behavior is happening. This is for any behavior in your mind, on a device, out in the world, eating, exercise, anything. Is this thing being driven by a worry, anxiety? Is it feeling like something you have to do, like a sense of urgency? This is when it's more compulsive. And sometimes it's something that you just flat out have to repeat. Like it doesn't quite feel like enough, doesn't feel just right. My example earlier of like repeatedly texting and asking people if they're mad at you, even when they've clearly said, no, we're not, or continuing to look things up, it's kind of like, right, I have to keep going. And maybe I'm also trying to figure out an answer that can't even be solved anyway. So a behavior that's more functional, including, gaming online, using social media, texting, has more of a helpful purpose to it. Sometimes it is purely entertainment, right? I want to game with my friends. It has social benefit. Maybe I'm researching or watching videos online because I want to learn about something. And I think looking at that difference helps with helping kids and teens form their own cutoff time over time, right? So us as parents are going to make that cutoff time through these years, but then helping teens look at like, maybe it starts out as something that's more like entertainment for you and it's fun. Where do you feel like it kind of starts to turn into that like mindless scrolling? Or when does it feel like you just have to keep looking? Like, again, what does that feel like for you? So I think those would be ways I would explain the differences to kids and teens, but then also asking questions to help them figure out, what those functions are like for them and where that shift can happen.
Okay. And I'm assuming that by asking those questions, helping to educate them, like you had just said, is going to help them build awareness around the mindless scrolling or the algorithm driven content loops. Is there anything that you wanted to add in that regard?
This episode is brought to you by Her Circle, the ultimate community for moms looking for real connections, meaningful experiences, and expert support.
From mom's night out and family adventures to book club, volunteer opportunities, and expert workshops, Her Circle is where moms come together to learn, laugh, and lift each other up.
Spots are limited, so join the waitlist at herhealthcollective.com/membership and be the first to know when doors open.
I think that, I would also add that, similar thing, right? So like talking about mindless scrolling, I know it's been brought up in this discussion, but you can use your own example. Like, what does it feel like when you're just like looking at TikTok for fun? And when does it become more mindless? So kind of like, what are the red flags? Well, I start to lose track of time. I kind of feel more spaced out. Okay, so those are our signs that it's starting to turn more into mindless scrolling. How do we notice that more? Can work together. I think as it was just brought up too, we can, that's kind of why we have these time cutoffs. It's not to be a punishment, it's to help us notice when our brain is going there. I feel that algorithm, I know, has been discussed a lot, but we just explaining how it works, right? Showing examples. We even use the algorithm to talk about how anxiety works a lot as a metaphor, because if you keep giving your worries unhelpful attention, your brain is also going to keep feeding you more worries, just as algorithms do. So I think, having those conversations can be super helpful and just helping kids understand. And if you're ever having a hard time with it, you can always enlist help from a therapist.
Speaking of the worries and going down sort of a rabbit hole, I do feel it's important to just interject here and say, I know reading a lot about this topic myself that I can find myself feeling guilt and going down a shame spiral because I have handed my child a tablet or turned the TV on. So I just want to interject here in the middle of this conversation and say that I personally do feel that there is still space in our kids' lives for digital and tech. And this isn't made to make any parent feel that we're saying that there's not a space for it. We just want to be aware of the pitfalls that are surrounding it, but it is a fact of life now. And I think that it's important to be aware of that and find ways that we can safely navigate it with our kids. So in that sense, it's another way to encourage the growth of resilient kids, to create frameworks and have conversations with them around tech use that will promote safety, autonomy, discernment. Parents need to learn how to set effective digital rules in their home, while helping kids build the critical thinking skills to make healthy, independent choices online. Marianne, I would love to hear from you. I know we've already talked about this a little bit, but what are some simple, effective rules you've seen work well around device use at home?
Yeah, so we talked about that already, but then I remembered one thing I wanted to add on to that. I'm not a big fan of parents threatening to take the phone away as punishment. Like, keep doing that and I'll take the phone away. You're not going to take the phone away, and the kids know that. And that's, so I always say to parents, if you're going to threaten to take the phone away, you actually have to take the phone away. And then what? Then what's your plan? So I'm not a big fan of that. I like consistent rules around device use. And what I mean by that is, when you give a child a phone, you can say to them, I am giving you this phone. This is not your phone. This is my phone that I pay for, that I'm letting you use, generously letting you use. The key thing for you to be able to keep this phone is to use it responsibly. And now we're going to have a conversation about what that looks like. This is what I think responsibility looks like. Again, this is why several of the other experts have mentioned, kids want to know why, and they deserve to know why. This is why I'm setting these rules. I will let you use this phone until I find that you have violated the rules, and then I may take it back. And I think if you are consistent with how you present the device and what your expectations are, that goes along with the authoritative parenting versus authoritarian parenting, saying, do this wrong and I'll take it away from you. Authoritative is, warm and connected and tells them, I'm letting you have this. I want you to have this. Let's talk about how you're going to use it. So that's one thing that I wanted to say. The other, and I'm not answering your question yet, and I know that. The other thing I wanted to say is that some parents have come to me and said, I didn't put rules in place. I didn't know what it would do to their developing brain. And now we're screwed. Like, we don't know what to do now. We can't just take it back. And how we've worked that out is you can always go to a teen or a tween and say, I didn't know when I gave you this phone what it would do to your brain. This is on me. I'm not punishing you by taking it away. This is me having made a mistake with not putting rules in place. And I'm sorry about that. But because it's my job to protect you and it's my job to keep you safe, these are the rules we're now going to implement, and here's why. And I have not had a single parent who implemented that the kid turned around and said to me, my mom's such a jerk for taking my phone. I literally had one parent say almost word for word what I just said. And then the kid came to me and said, well, my mom took my phone away, but it's okay because she it's not anything I did wrong. She didn't know it would hurt my developing brain. Like, the kid did hear her. And then she looked at me and she goes, Marianne, I feel better without it. And I'm like, yep. So if you can put anything in place that allows the kids the time and the space to feel the difference, they will recognize the difference. So in answering your question, I think, again, just, keeping the devices on a limited time frame, explaining to the kids why, maybe blocking certain apps, explaining that you will be checking their phone. I loved everything Anastasia said about, like, the computers in the room with where everybody is. Everybody knows what's going on. I think those things are important.
Marianne, I actually have a really quick question for you.
Sure.
With things like social media, you said not allowing certain apps. So if you have your kids not having social media, but then they've got friends. So my 15-year-old will send her things from Instagram. How do you work that? It's still, she can't see everything because she doesn't have an account, but it's still is a touch. Do I just let that go?
I think so, because how are you going to control what somebody else sends your kid, right? I mean, I think the best thing you can do is maybe, I can't remember who said it, but asking, like, with curiosity, how do you feel about that thing they sent you? Did you think that was funny? Did you think it wasn't funny? What was interesting about it? Leading with curiosity and open-ended questions will really be the best way to do it. But if somebody, like, I don't have TikTok and people send me links to TikTok stuff all the time, and I can see that particular TikTok, but, and do I look at it when they send it? Sure. But I don't have a TikTok account. So I think that's kind of a losing battle to try to figure that one out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Marianne. This is towards Anastasia. How do we go beyond just setting limits to actually teaching our kids how to think critically about what they are seeing and doing online?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's hard though, right? Because their brains aren't capable of really critically thinking about this yet. So we kind of have to be the brain for them, which they necessarily do not like. So I think we have to give ourselves as parents a lot of grace and just know that we're doing the best we can with it. But teaching it and explaining why things are the way they are and teaching about it, I think that's the best way to go about it. And it also has that communication piece, like I was talking about earlier, is like if you're going to tell them they can't have TikTok, explain to them why, maybe show them TikTok. And that's going to start when they're really little, right? Because by the time they're 11 and 12, they already know what TikTok is. So all this teaching stuff has to happen when they're like 9, 10 years old, especially if they're in, I would say, a school, like if they're not homeschooled or in a very isolated environment, because in the school, most of the kids are going to have this stuff. So when they're young, they're going to come home and tell you about it and they're going to talk. So then you sit down and you talk about it and you learn and you teach and you talk and you both learn together. I think that is really helpful for parents. The biggest thing I've learned in this whole thing, because I'm learning just like you guys are, because it's so new. No one else has really ever had to do this before. And in working with the moms I work with, is the younger that we start just having this open communication about the iPad and about the apps and being excited about the ABC app, right? If you let your kids have it when they're 3 and 4, they will continue to talk about it with you the whole time and teach you stuff. And that's that's the other thing, is the teaching goes both ways, like that mutual respect. Let the kids teach you about the YouTube or whatever it is, because then they're gonna be excited to talk to you about it, even if you could care less. But then you're gonna know what they're watching and what they're hearing, right? And what they're seeing. But yeah, I just think we have to give ourselves like a lot of grace and just know that we're just doing the best we can. And I think if you're paying attention, if your kids are coming to you and sharing stuff with you and telling you about the music they're listening to, and I think that's a win for us, because they're communicating with us. And I was thinking too, you were talking to Erin earlier about like knowing when it's time to end. And when one of the things that I've talked a lot with parents, actually adults and kids, is just knowing your mind-body connection. And so a big question that I ask parents or we talk about is like, what is your body feeling like? What does your body feel like when you've sat there for so long? What does that feel like whenever you really think about your heart or your hands, whatever? So I really have them get into what is their body feeling like, because then it puts them right in that present moment. So that mind body connection. And if you can figure out a way to like bring that into a conversation with your kids, can be really helpful. Even doing like a body scan or something. If you know, I mean, just they might not even know what their body feels like when they've sat there for like an hour watching TikTok or whatever videos.
That would be an effective way to perhaps teach them to recognize when content is harmful, manipulative, fueling unhealthy comparisons that we were talking about earlier, to scan your body, see how it feels. Do you have any other ways that parents can help kids sort of navigate that and teach them how to recognize this kind of content?
Yeah, if you're a teenage girl and you're looking at, if you don't like the way it feels, if you not all of a sudden notice you're getting all this anxiety, unfollow that. And not unfriend, some like on Facebook you can unfollow, so stop looking at it. Like, don't look at it anymore if you don't like the way it makes you feel. It's not like you have to stop being friends with the person, but if you don't like the way something makes you feel, stop looking at it. And that's hard to do if you want to know what everybody else is doing. But if you don't like it, and it's really getting to that place within yourself to being like, you know what, I really don't like it, I'm going to stop looking at it. So if you can, those conversations to have with your children are really important also. I mean, I've had similar conversations with my son about this kind of stuff. So it's like really getting in touch with what it feels like when you see things that make you feel unhappy or sick or disgusted or scared, even scared. Like he saw some of those jump scare videos. So now he's like, I don't watch them at all because I don't like the way it makes me feel. I'm like, great, that's great. Don't watch them then, because that is not fun for your body. So really helping your kids see that it's okay to unfollow or you can watch other stuff, but if you don't like that, just don't watch those things.
Yeah. And what a powerful lesson for kids, because I feel like that's hard for me. I go on there and I see things that make me feel pretty crappy. And yet I'm still stuck there rereading or like bringing it up 5 minutes later to see again. Oh, I have to check it again for some reason, like it's changed. And if it's hard for an adult, that's even harder for a kid. So having those conversations from a young age would be really important. I can see that.
It's hard. And I'm to the point, like with my social media, just for me as a mom and as a woman, that everything, it's very skewed. My stuff is all happy. It's all these nice quotes. It's all the kind, I don't have like political stuff. If I had, there's like a drama person that I know, they're not even there anymore. Because when I go on there, I want it to be like fun for me. So I literally like, it's just very skewed to what I like, because I'm like, if I'm going to do this, it's going to be fun.
Facebook and Instagram know when I get on at 4 a.m. because I can't sleep that it can send me all the ads and I'm probably going to buy something. Like it has learned, like she is a prime target at 4 a.m., man.
Yeah.
It's smart. It knows. So yeah, if you set that algorithm in the way to show you all the good feel good stuff, it can be positive in that way. Erin, when should families consider getting professional support for digital overuse, anxiety, compulsive behaviors related to tech?
Yeah, great question. I think in general, it's not too early. Things don't have to be very severe or bad for you to get professional help if you just want to get some education and work together as a family and feel more confident in your family's conversations about these topics. But, more specifically, I think where there might be more concern or maybe a little bit more of a urgency, I suppose, to get some more help would be if digital media use is negatively affecting your kid or your teen's life. One would especially be if they want help with it. Many kids and teens actually do want help with this stuff and can notice that they feel anxious or attached to some of these behaviors, or that they are struggling with body image because of things online. So yes, of course, if they're asking you for help, please do it. Other things would be if maybe you notice things that could be some physical symptoms of anxiety, stomach pain, headaches, things that don't, are there but don't seem to have an apparent medical cause. But again, impacting one's life could also be interfering with things like school, sleep, or routine things taking a bit longer than usual because your kids seem less happy and less able to engage in the present. And maybe you having some of these conversations isn't quite feeling like enough yet. Those would be good times to consider consulting with a therapist.
Erin, is there a particular professional that we should be seeking out, someone with a specific specialty, or can any therapist really help?
Great question. Yeah, you may look for coaching. I think it may depend on what specifically the concern is. I would say if you're worried that your kid or teen could be struggling with OCD, with anxiety, with a related mental health condition as it pertains to digital use, I would recommend working with a licensed therapist, especially who uses evidence-based practices like cognitive behavioral therapy or ERP, exposure therapy for OCD. Sometimes, if it's kind of more, hey, we want to work together as a family and we're really targeting this one behavior, people may pursue a coach. So again, for mental health conditions like OCD, anxiety, you want to find a licensed, trained professional.
I can say too that it's really important to research the people that you're looking for. So whoever you decide to find, whether they're licensed or not, really research them, learn who they are, find out what they've done in the past, results that they have had, see if you can be part of it. One of my big things we're working with kids, right? So the kids have the issues, but they're in your family. And so it's usually a combined situation. So really working together as a family, if possible, that's my take on it, is that if you can be part of it as a parent, if you have a child that's really struggling.
Yes.
Great.
And I just jump in with that. I agree 100% with what Erin said and what Anastasia said. And my only goal when I work with a family is that they get the help they need, whether it's with me or somebody else. So, coaches need to stay in their lane. We've been trained to identify conditions and situations that we are not able to handle. So, for instance, if I get somebody who's obviously just having symptoms of OCD, I'm going to send them to Erin. I'm going to send them to somebody else. That's the way it should be. I think that's important to remember, that any good person has a referral list for someone else. So you want to make sure that it's a good match for everybody. So that's just one of those important things, because the whole goal is to get the family the help that they need.
Very important. The creation and use of digital devices is not all negative. Our particular discussion that we've been having tended to focus a little bit on the negative, almost on the negative, but there are some positives to it. It's important to highlight the upside, how digital platforms, when used wisely, can enhance connection, access and support. So can we explore this in more detail? Erin, I'm going to start with you. Can you give examples of how teens or parents have used digital platforms to build real support networks? A huge shout out to our Patreon subscribers. Your support truly means the world to us. Thanks to you, we are able to continue the weekly production of Mama Needs a Moment and getting this valuable information from these incredible guests out to you, our listeners. This final question has been recorded as a bonus and is available for our Patreon subscribers to go listen to right now. Be sure to log into your Patreon account and have a listen. If you're not a subscriber, we'd love to have you. The link is in the show notes. Well, thank you so much to all of you for your time. It's been a very enlightening conversation, very, very helpful. I can't wait to go back and listen to it again and just continue to get little nuggets from all that we've discussed today. So thank you. It's always appreciated, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
That's a wrap. You carved out a few moments just for yourself, and that's a big deal.
We understand that time is limited, but we've got your back, which is why we keep these episodes short, sweet, and packed with goodness.
Don't miss a thing. Hit the follow button so you're always the first to know when a new episode drops. If you had as much fun as we did, let us know by leaving a review.
And remember to let other moms know that we're here doing motherhood alongside you, grateful to share a few moments taking care of you.